Thanks for tuning in to
AZ News, where we report the news to you.
I'm Zainab Sheikh.
And I am Adwaita Goswami.
Today we have exclusive information.
The camera is over there.
Today we have exclusive information on a very serious matter. But first, a word from our sponsors. Many kids face mental disorders. For example, thousands of kids face Fragile X syndrome. But doctors here at the Jersey City Healthcare Department are trying to help them. But they need your help. Donate some money today. You can make this difference.
You can be my hero. Donate some money today, please.
Call 1-800-WE-LOVE-KIDS. You can help. And we're back.
Today, we will be talking about Fragile X syndrome, which is a very serious genetic disorder that many people face in their lifetime.
Fragile X syndrome is also known as FXS. This disease is caused by the lengthening of the FMR1 gene. Fragile X syndrome is a genetic disorder that affects your brain. This disorder affects the X chromosome, which makes it Fragile X syndrome, and it's known as a gene mutation. The X chromosome is one of the two sex-determining chromosomes. When Fragile X occurs, the chromosome X switches off, which means there would be no reproduction of the protein that is used in your brain. And if this happens, your brain won't develop properly.
A female has 2 X chromosomes and a male has 1 X and 1 Y. The X chromosome contains between 6 and 44 repeats of the CGG. If the CGG repeats more than 200 times, Fragile X occurs. Fragile X syndrome can occur in many ways. It can be passed down by the last generation.
Some people can be carriers, which means they won't have Fragile X syndrome, but they have a high probability that their children will have the full mutation. Now a word from our scientists, Nina and Sarah.
Thanks, girls. My name is Nina.
And my name is Sarah. And today we'll be talking about Fragile X syndrome. Individuals with over 200 CGG repeats have a full mutation of the FMR1 gene, which causes Fragile X syndrome.
Fragile X is inherited in an X-linked dominant pattern. A condition is considered X-linked if the mutated gene that causes the disorder is located on the X chromosome, one of the 2 sex chromosomes.
The FMR1 gene is found in every cell of the body, but the protein it makes is essentially only for normal brain development.
In case of the Fragile X, the FMR1 gene either does not make the protein FMRP or makes too little of it, so the brain doesn't develop normally.
At the beginning of the FMR1 gene, there are sections with letters C, G, and G that repeat over and over.
In most people, the number of CGG is small, between 6 and 44.
In other people, the CGG patterns repeat between 45 and 54 times, an intermediate repeat.
And still others can have the CGG repeat between 55 and 200 times. This is called a premutation, but the protein is still produced and the brain develops normally.
Fragile X only occurs when there are more than 200 CGG repeats, which is also called a full mutation.
The large number of CGG repeats results in the gene turning off and no protein is made. This is the cause of 95% of the cases of Fragile X.
There is no single treatment for Fragile X syndrome, but there are treatments that help minimize the symptoms of the condition.
Individuals with Fragile X who receive appropriate education, therapy services, and medications have the best chance of using all of their individual capabilities and skills. Even those with an intellectual or developmental disability can learn to master many self-help skills.
As you can see in this pedigree chart, we cannot be completely sure what will happen since Fragile X syndrome is a spontaneous disease. If it would be dominant, then all the men and women that are carriers of the mutation in an X chromosome would suffer from the syndrome, but that's not the case.
On the other hand, it's also not recessive, as not every man that carries a mutated X chromosome gets the syndrome, and there are women that are heterozygous for the mutated X chromosome and get the syndrome.
Thanks!
And
back to you, girls! Thanks, girls!
Well, that was interesting to learn about Fragile X syndrome.
Now to Nancy with the weather. Thanks, girls! Today's weather's gonna be hot! Excuse me? Who are you?
My name is Rebecca.
Well, Rebecca, this is my weather segment, so, get out! It's gonna be hot, cold, and rainy.
Somewhere!
I said get out!
Okay.
Ugh. Back to you, girls. Who hired? Okay, that was a unique weather segment.
Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. And, Rebecca.
Well, anyway, that concludes.
We still have one camera.
Okay, right. That concludes this episode of AZ News.
Where we report the news to you.
I'm Zainab Sheikh. Don't forget to go to the corner store to buy some corn.
And I'm Adwaita Goswami, and this eye pun might seem very cornea to some people.